Modern TF2 has a spaghetti code problem. But what if the code became so messed up that it gained sentience? This is a small excerpt from the beta Fortress itch.io page, a Team Fortress 2 inspired horror game taking place within a bizarre and seemingly corrupt and aware version of the game. The game itself presents us with some interesting ideas and may be hiding even deeper lore and terrifying secrets within the depths of its files. Today's video will be a short one. However, with luck and with patience, we in the future may be able to dig into an even deeper mystery spawned by the game. The game in question was made by one Gurkha Boy, and is actually an asset swap from another one of their creations. However, thanks to the popularity it's gained, I wouldn't be surprised if in the very near future it spawns more expansions and deeper lore within. Hello everybody, my name is Dregobob, and welcome to my channel. After experiencing what I can only call a brain reboot after ingesting several unknown compounds in the Appalachian Mountains, I've decided to further broaden the things I'll cover on my channel. Gooby update video coming soon. Fine folk would call slop. As long as the project looks like it has effort put into it, or even just looks like a good time, I'll likely try my hand at seeing if it's good enough for a video. I also just got tired of not being able to put out a video or two weekly like I used to, making me feel like a bad creator and entertainer for all of you. So, in the near future, expect me to cover all manner of interesting and/or odd things on the internet. I'd also like to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. YouTube has also introduced a new hype feature, so please use that too. I'd really like to see what it does. Now, with all of that finally out of the way, let's move on to the game's itch.io page. Beyond the rather simple description and more bit-crushed assets used on the page, we also find a few odd screenshots taken from the game itself. The first looks like a fairly normal sniper looking at another sniper through his scope. The second presents another player playing as sniper, listening to one of those text bubble logs from the extras of TF2 and other Valve games like Left 4 Dead. Though props around the scene also don't have any textures. Speaking of, the map looks unrecognizable to any other in the game. The final screenshot continues this oddness with the scenery, and instead presents a scout keeled over in a way that shouldn't actually be possible in-game. Then again, this project is supposed to be one of TF2's betas, so it could be some type of stun mechanic unique to this version of the game. Perhaps that's why everything looks so unfinished. Then again, there's no better way to find out than actually booting up the game. Fascinatingly, this reveals that the game itself is almost seemingly being recorded from an external source, which doesn't make all too much sense when you consider that we're the ones playing the game. Reading the title a bit more closely, the version name most notably reads Unfinished. So that would explain the rougher look to everything, and also explain why the settings page is so corrupt looking, which isn't right. But then again, it does help to explain all the bizarreness of everything we've seen thus far, game screenshots included. But that still doesn't explain the external POV we have. Upon selecting Create a Server, we are prompted to play a tutorial of all things. Considering I'm a bit of a deep diver, let's give it a play. Team Fortress 2 isn't the kind of game to have any kind of tutorial. From what I recall, the game itself was plug and play. As in, you get thrown off into the deep end and either learn how to play the game or learn to hate getting the floor wiped with you and your character's carcass by pub stompers and people who've been playing the game a lot longer than you. Turning our attention back to the tutorial, we find it to be almost unfinished looking. The entire floor throughout the tutorial is just a big missing texture. Animations that are normally finished in the main game and smooth also don't play right, and feel more like a slideshow or animatic. The lighting also doesn't feel right too. One thing I didn't notice until watching the footage over again is that when you test out your sniping skills on the scout and snipers standing in the pedestals, Only the scout screams out immediately, while the sniper does nothing. The next room also presents us with an ability the sniper has, and that's to X-ray cheat and see through walls to spy on enemies. Notably, the only other enemy to cry out when I do a sick 360 no-scope on them is the spy. Moving onwards, we're told we'll be brought to the next tutorial room, though upon turning around, we find we have a little friend watching our backs, one that boots us to the main menu. Here again, the only thing we can possibly do is attempt to start another tutorial match, as the server browser comes up as completely empty. Rightfully so when you consider the nature of this particular unfinished form of TF2. One thing I also forgot to mention is that we can hear the clicking and clacking of the keyboard of whoever's playing this. It almost feels like we're playing through the recording of some bizarre haunted game experience, and I do quite like that. Starting up this new server, we're given one map option, CTF Trainhouse. This isn't an actual map in the main version of TF2, but down below we're also told a bot, not multiple, a bot, will be spawned on the map so we can actually mess around and play the game in this new, never-before-seen map. Upon doing so, we're given an eagle-eye view of what looks to be the center of the map. There are already some objects with missing textures we can clearly see, and we're for a second told we're waiting for players until the bot presumably spawns. From here, we're given the chance to select a class in a much more minimalistic class selection menu. And while it almost looks like we'd be able to select any of the 9, many of them are outright missing. The game even says this to us when we try and select the scout. Not this one. Though some classes that are in the game and yet not selectable are given extra flavor text, with a large helping of additional lore. These seemingly come from the devs behind the game too, so I'll read them now. Spy. Who keeps messing with Spy's code? Why does his bot AI have its own pathfinding and behavior written in a completely different language that I've never seen before? Pyro. His flames are glitching out. Might be coconut.jpg again. Sniper. Why can't he crouch? He fell out of the map last time I tried. I'm not touching that. That X-ray ability is extremely unbalanced. Some of these messages feel almost like the devs speaking to each other. Snipers especially. Notably, he's the only class we can play as all the others are apparently not the one, or just don't exist. So let's choose Sniper and begin the game, and finally get to exploring this new map. That's also missing a lot of assets and textures. Only thanks to the increased detail, it's all more noticeable. Here in the map, our goal is to capture the intelligence. Reminds me of another irregularly popular video I made on another TF2 project. Go watch it now. Back to the topic at hand, our goal in the CTF map is to capture the intelligence. This map, compared to your average TF2 map, is also much more close quarters. There's one or two alternate routes, but everything is more or less a straight line. Using the sniper's iconic X-ray ability that everyone knows and loves also reveals something odd. There are 2 signatures on the map. One at the far end, likely the bot, and another one in one of those high-up watchtower things. I'm not really sure what to call them, though it's seemingly invisible or just out of sight, and it's seemingly watching us from the room above the map's center too. Beyond this odd sight, the only other thing on the map is the bot scout and blue spawn. The only thing exploring the map further reveals is ever more missing textures and, in general, unfinished and weirdly proportioned map. The map itself almost feels like a sort of more fleshed out test map. It's not clear if CTF Trainhouse is the only map in the game outside of the training map we're in, but there's a very good chance that what I just said is the true nature of this map. But with all of the information we've consumed thus far, there's the potential that this map is the only thing the game will allow us to access. After all, We were booted from the training map by what looked to be a spy in the class selection menu. There's a developer note that also talks about his code shifting and changing on its own, to the point it's in a completely alien language. We're told right off the bat too in the game's itch.io page that this version of the game has a terrible spaghetti code problem. This likely refers to that alien code we heard about, and in turn, the life this beta game has taken on. With all of that in mind, the one thing to do on this map other than stare at the eerily still scout in the blue battlements and watch the shifty thing in the tower is to capture the intelligence. Upon snapping the intel up, a loud blaring alarm sounds. This is likely a precursor to the iconic sound that plays whenever an enemy picks up the intel. When I play horror games, I often play them in my bedroom with all the lights off and my headphones on to really immerse myself in the game. After that alarm blared, I couldn't help but feel as if I'd alerted something. Making my way back to the base, my paranoia got the best of me. Between the almost silent hum of the in-game PC, clacking of the keys, and the ever-present thing in the tower, I was almost sure I'd crossed the bridge only for that thing to suddenly spring out at me or disappear. What happens after I cap the intel is arguably worse, as we hear the spy's cloaking watch decloak sound effect play, though I was too busy bee-hopping to notice. At least until I use the X-ray ability, as the next time we do so, reveals a thing in the high-up room is gone and is now trailing us as we make our way through the level. This thing is slow and methodical. It stays just far away from us to be thoroughly terrifying. And it's upon entering the blue battlements the next time a loud knocking sound effect plays. It's the first of many terrifying auditory disturbances, in fact. The next time you pick up the intel, the bot scout that hasn't moved the whole game is killed by an unknown player entity. It's more than likely the thing that's been following us, thanks to the proximity they have too. Wasting no time in returning to our base, that thing that killed the scout is seemingly pursuing us even faster now. The sounds have also grown worse too. Turning the intel in for the second time also causes this to happen. We're prompted and told not to run out of time, the in-game timer being reduced down to less than 3 minutes. We also get a brief flash of what looks to be the pyro. On top of this, an all-new ambience has taken center stage. Different sound effects, foot decals on the floor accompanied by footsteps, and we even see flashes of the spy. And sometimes they outright attack us, forcing us to fire at them. But that doesn't help keep them away for long. Laughing, angered grunts, distorted voice lines, but worst of all, our second set of eyes is disabled, meaning we can no longer use the X-ray as a crutch to get an idea of where the spy is, along with whatever else may be in the level, as apparently the pyro is also watching us, only they're less upfront about it. The ambience in-game also only grows worse the more time we spend moving through the map. It's only when we finally cap it that things calm down audio-wise. This brilliant use of sound honestly really adds to the game. I love it when something this simple utilizes all of its assets in such a way that it feels so much more in depth than you would expect. The only thing left to do on the map is to capture the intel 2 more times. Doing this without getting caught by the spy causes the game to end and reveals that we've done well over 1,000 damage to the spy. And yet, we don't even have an actual kill on them. Despite this seeming like the end of the nightmare, there's still 3 more rounds to go through, along with all of the new horrors that come with them. The second round begins as eerie and foreboding as the last round left it. That same strange ambience fills the map, and as we leave spawn, we discover one of those floating text bubbles. Interacting with it gives us this message from the big Gaben himself.
Welcome to Team Fortress 2. After 9 years in development, hopefully it will have been worth the wait. Please let me know what you think after you have had a chance to play. I can be reached at gaben@valvesoftware.com, and my favorite class is the Spy. Thanks, and have fun.
After this, the only other thing to do is to make our way to Blue Spawn to begin capturing the intelligence. Though, as we arrive, just outside of Blue Spawn is another one of those text bubbles that normally only appear in the extras.
To accommodate the Scout class, maps need open spaces that allow Scouts to double jump along paths that the other classes can't navigate.
Scouts often use their speed advantage. Scouts often use their speed advantage. Scouts often use their speed advantage.
Upon listening to the message completely, or closing it too soon, turning away from Blue Spawn causes the newest antagonistic force in the game to spawn. A Blue Scout. They operate somewhat like a weeping angel, where if you don't look, they move. At this point of the game, they aren't all too fast, but pairing that with Spy's random appearances makes him very, very dangerous. With the addition of the Scout, Round 2 was rather complicated. One thing I had discovered the hard way was the Scout spawns practically anywhere, and as I rounded a corner, I killed myself by running into them. Despite this, I ultimately do manage to cap the intel 4 times, and in the end, make it to round 3. As is the norm, something new is added. Someone new. The third round causes another one of those text bubbles to spawn. Interacting with it causes this message to play.
I am Heavy Weapons Guy, and this is my new weapon.
It seems the Heavy will be a new antagonist, and he's much, much closer than I'd be comfortable knowing, as after I interacted with this message, a Heavy head spawns below us. The first time I discovered this was when the game told me down, and I got down on my knees thinking I was about to get sniped outside. Only it was them. The Heavy's head. This weird incarnation of the Heavy has a dozen or so different states, and it's a threat that never quite leaves you. And yet another thing that forces you to look away from the Scout, who is growing much, much more aggressive along with the Spy. Ammo conservation in this level also becomes critical to not getting your world ended by the Heavy, Spy, and/or Scout. As the only way to knock the Heavy back once they begin doing that slow waddle towards you is a bullet. Sometimes 2 or even more depending on how unlucky you are. But despite the ever more dangerous circumstances we the player find ourselves in, through trial and error we eventually capture the intelligence all 4 times and are finally allowed to leave. Of course, that'll be only after the 4th and final round is complete. This particular round is intense. Not even in spawn you're given time to get your bearings, as the Heavy is present, Scout active, and the Spy is once again incredibly aggressive. I'm not sure what this is too, but on occasion, this figure wearing a green trench coat and black mask will rarely appear and attack us, the player. Shooting them does nothing, but them attacking you does nothing else too. Whatever this character is, feels more like a diversion, or at the very least, a strange Easter egg. They appear far too infrequently to be an actual threat for you to worry about, and even when they do appear, the worst that it does is make you waste your ammo. They remind me almost of the Pyro, who often flickers in and out of existence in the center bridge, but they do nothing to us other than watch and stand there, menacingly. Overall, the 4th round is incredibly arduous. There were times I was dying quite literally right after I stepped out of the battlements after being killed the previous time. But it's worth it, as capturing the intelligence an additional 4 times completes the 4th and final round, leading us to the next leg of this ARG. As our PC, or the character's PC, completes its scan and discovers the harmful files within the game. From here, we're led back to the main menu and are only able to start a new game or continue and replay round 4. Now, look, this was very, very underwhelming. I dug through the game's files, opened every menu, clicked on literally everything I could have possibly clicked on, even avoided interacting with both of the text bubbles that trigger the spawn of new threats, but nothing happens. This is it. The end, or current end of the game. Beta Fortress certainly has promise, and I really do hope to see an expansion on the series someday. But as of now, that's all of the substance there really is. A fun, though at times frustrating TF2 simulation featuring creepy mercs. It definitely has a lot of fun concepts, and from what I can tell, there's a multitude of ways the developer could take this game's story. But as I said, that's it. If you enjoyed this fairly short video and watched this far, I thank you for your time. It's people like you I make content like this for, and honestly I can see myself making a lot more videos on short-form content like this in the near future. I personally had some issues preventing me from getting past my pride to make things like this, but in the near future, I'll be covering all kinds of different stuff. I'd also like to apologize for the actual month-plus wait for new content. That will never happen again. On screen right now, you should also be seeing art from people on my Discord server, as well as a random Pokemon card from my collection. Not sure why I'm showing that, but I'm a Pokemon fan and I'm insane. But if you'd like to join my Discord server to share your art, chat about different stuff and more, please don't hesitate. Also, like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to use that hype feature I talked about too. I'm Dregobob, hoping you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Bye-bye!
Orbit collab win!